More on the numbers immigration officials revealed at yesterday's news conference. Immigration Director Jack Thompson says to date, some 2,784 immigrants were sent back home.
Of course, the three major nationalities would be Haitian nationals, as the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister said, which is 2,117, followed by Jamaican nationals, which is 236, and Dominicans 203, and others 228.
Now, Immigration Minister Brent Simonet says between May 2nd, 2007 and December 2009, some 1,900 immigrants were repatriated. Last fiscal year, $1 million was allocated and $942,000 was spent on repatriations. And the job is getting more difficult as more and more foreigners try to enter the Bahamas illegally. Simonet acknowledged that more Sri Lankans, Nigerians and Bolivians are being smuggled here as the patterns in human trade are changing. And get this, he says Bahamians and other residents are involved.
I don't want to say specifically Bahamians. I would say people living in the Bahamas. And I don't mean to cast any rumors, or I just don't want to restrict my comments to solely to Bahamians that are doing this.
And with so many illegal immigrants attempting to enter our borders, millions more dollars is being pumped into modernizing the Defense Force. This as the government moves to further protect our maritime borders from all illegal activity. Here's Carla Palmer.
With millions of dollars spent to upgrade the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and more to come, Acting Commodore Tellis Bethel and his team are content and anxiously await the government's fulfilled commitment to more resources as RBDF personnel execute their primary mission of border protection and patrol.
Government is in the process, the Bahamas government is in the process of acquiring some 11 patrol craft for us. The Defense Force has some 100,000 square miles of water to patrol. The Bahamas itself consists of some 700 islands, 2,000 rocks and keys, and we have a coastline of some 2,000 miles long. It's the second longest in the Caribbean region, second to Cuba.
Additionally, there is the expectation of another satellite base in the southern Bahamas.
The Bahamas government has authorized the development of another base in the Ragged Island chain at Gun Point.
Already, the Defense Force is positioned strategically with two outposts in the north, Grand Bahama and Abaco, one in the Exuma chain and another in Greater Nagua. In addition to the challenge of illegal immigration, RBDF is confronted with drug trafficking, terrorist-related activity, arms smuggling and poaching.
Our plan, therefore, is to position ourselves at strategic locations on the wall of our national borders so that we can detect, detain, and deter those who are engaged in the various illicit activities.
According to Bethel, with the ongoing recruitment process increasing manpower and efficiency beyond the 1,100-strong force, he acknowledges that there is always room for improvement.
Rome was not built in a day, and so what you have to understand is that we have to have a plan and progressively develop that plan in keeping with the available resources.
Carla Palmer, ZNS News.
Some 2,000 people expected here in the capital next week. They will participate in several health conferences from November 18th to 21st. The 2011 Caribbean HIV Conference will be held under the theme Strengthening Evidence to Achieve Sustainable Action. Health Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says despite progress over the past 10 years in the area of care and treatment against HIV in the Caribbean, the region still has the world's second highest adult HIV rate. But where does the Bahamas rank in the region? Officer in charge of the HIV and AIDS program, Dr. Perry Gomez, says the Bahamas is ranked the highest, but he takes exception with the rating.
We don't quite agree with the 3% prevalence for the Bahamas because of the methodology they use in arriving at the 3%. They use these estimates that really is applicable more to large countries with large populations. And so we don't accept 3% as our figure at all, although that's what the international community puts out.
Gomez said that internally the prevalent rate should be below 2%, although the new statistics on HIV and AIDS won't be released until the end of the year. Gomez said that no new trends or areas of concern have developed.
The trend hasn't changed. It's still, as you say, alluded to young people who aren't afraid of anything, and nothing's gonna happen to them, and so they are vulnerable. And there are other vulnerable groups. Men who have sex with men, commercial sex workers, drug addicts, other really risk groups in all countries.
Well, today is Veterans Day, and celebrations took place at various venues around the capital. To mark the day, it's a time to honor the contributions of hundreds of Bahamians who have served in the armed forces during World Wars I and II. Fri Nov was at Remembrance Day ceremonies at the A.F. Adley Junior High School.
A.F. Adley students paying tribute to those men and women of the armed forces who gave their lives in the service of this country. The laying of wreaths, solemn songs, poems, and a performance by A.F. Adley's handbell choir marking Remembrance Day and celebrating the contributions of the 4 crewmen of the HMBS Flamingo who died at sea, and that of World Wars I and II veterans Percy Strawn, Stanley Benaby, Ambrose Hanner, Reverend Dr. Earl Francis, and Reverend Cephas Ferguson, the widow of the late Arthur Nathaniel Richardson and daughter of the late Audley Humes, also ensuring that their relatives are not forgotten. All national heroes who showed others the value of volunteering their skills and talents, according to Education Minister Desmond Bannister.
In their honor, and in the honor of those who are no longer with us, we gather as a grateful nation to say thank you. Students between 200 and 300 Bahamian men and women served in the armed forces of Britain, Canada, and the United States. 14 of them lost their lives in active duty. And since then, many of our veterans have died of war wounds or of natural causes.
Students were also encouraged to follow the lead of the servicemen by volunteering their time and talents to the national good.
I encourage all Bahamians to become passionate about building our nation through this program by voluntarily contributing your time and your service to youth development or to any other area you deem essential to our growth of the nation. And no student in this room ought to feel that you are too small or too young to contribute to the volunteer effort.
The Education Minister also gave students this advice.
It is our responsibility to continue to share with our young people the stories of these legendary men and the stories of those veterans who no longer stand among us.
Fri Nov, ZNS News.
And what a better way to celebrate some of our very own local soldiers who put their lives on the line for so many of us. In her final report on the war vets, Ianthea Smith sits down with 3 surviving soldiers.
It's Veterans Day, and we're wrapping up our week-long special by introducing you to 3 more of our Bahamian World War II vets, Vernon Pinder, Lloyd Toppin, and Charles Fisher. That's 796959 Fisher to you.
That's amazing. AC2 Fisher, CA.
It was that same fearless, go-get-em attitude that gave this former war soldier the push he needed to enlist in the Army.
Those planes were fully equipped with guns and the tail and the nose and under the belly and the top. So it had to have 4 gunners beside the navigator and the pilot and the co-pilot.
Fisher, the first vice chair of the British Legion Bahamas branch, says while he never really got down to the action, he was close enough to it to tell true war stories. Another veteran, Lloyd Toppin, says enlisting in the war actually saved his life.
And if the war hadn't started and we were not able to do that, all of us would have gone astray. Most of us young boys would have gone astray. But that did a lot of us, made it is quite a discipline. Discipline-wise, you know, and because right then, you know, you could have done anything. Just like it is today. You go wild.
Toppin, who says he was and still is skilled with his hands, worked in the Army's carpenter shop and was a part of the maintenance crew. And to this day, he says his love for carpentry remains.
It kept me physical because we did a lot of exercise. As a matter of fact, we were training to go overseas. We had the soil course, just what you see in the movie, we had that. And we were training to go overseas. But I suppose after the Germans heard that these conquistadors coming over there, they give up. So we didn't go overseas anymore.
That's war vet Vernon Pinder, who says this time of year always brings back a lot of memories.
I think of my fallen comrades. They bring tears to my eyes every time my fallen comrades. I think about, you know, we in East Barracks, we had about 40 men in East Barracks. You know, men you've been with for so many years, you get attached like another brother. And when you come to think of it, they're gone. You know, then you think about it.
Over the past 5 days, we've introduced you to 12 outstanding men, 12 Bahamian World War II vets who now stand among the best of them. For ZNS News, I'm Anthea Smith.
Royal Fidelity Capital Markets testing the capital market waters in the Bahamas to consider if there is a need to launch its 6th international investment fund before the end of the year. Royal Fidelity's mutual fund manager, Joseph Utenner, told the local print media that the proposed TIGRS 6 fund was being composed like a fixed income product based on a basket of top blue-chip international stocks and designed to give higher returns than those available in the domestic Bahamian capital markets. Construction has begun on BTC's flagship store in the mall at Marathon. The 6,500-square-foot facility will be the largest of any cable and wireless communications operated outlet in the Caribbean. BTC officials promise the $500,000 project will mirror any United States cell phone provider store with modern, user-friendly, and interactive features. BTC hopes to open their flagship store by Christmas. The Wendy's franchise here in the Bahamas has won the title International Franchisee of the Year by Wendy's International at its recent convention in Las Vegas, Nevada. Wendy's Bahamas franchise owners Chris and Terry Savusis knocked out franchises in 24 countries around the world. In international business, former Greek banker and European Central Bank Vice President Lucas Papademos has been named interim Prime Minister of Greece. Papademos was one of several political leaders meeting with Greece's president with the goal of forming a new national unity government. In regional business, an attempt has been made to defraud Trinidad and Tobago's National Energy Corporation of $9.6 million by presenting false documents to facilitate the wire transfer of funds to overseas accounts. The NEC alerted its bankers, First Citizens, Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, who communicated the information with the country's Attorney General. Remember, you can send us an email or join us on www.znsbahamas.com or become our friend on ZNS's official Facebook page.